to heaven. Today we're gonna show you how to make this chopstick scraped noodle soup. It's fast and easy. You can make this noodle from scratch, from flour to finish within 30 minutes. And the broth itself is so hearty and so easy, fast to make. It's like you come home on a rainy day or a cool day and you just wanna fix up a quick dinner for your kids, for your family. This is the one to go. Okay, let's get started. We're gonna start with some flour. We're gonna add in some salt, then water. Okay, when you add water, you gotta be really careful, okay? Because it's like hit or miss, okay? If you go too much, then it gets too runny. It's hard to form a shape in the broth. But if it gets too little, then the noodle gets too hard. It's kind of like a wet dough. We're just gonna add a little bit, and then as we go, we will see, okay? Don't be greedy, because sometimes it seems really dry, but then once you stir it really well, it gets wet, okay? So we wanna be patient and careful. When you see your dough quite like this, it's kind of sticky, hard to stir, it means you're almost there. You probably just need a little bit more water. So when you add in more water, you wanna be extremely careful now. Just a little bit. Every time when you add in more water, make sure you give a good stir. You can feel the dough is kind of resisting, and this is almost there. We're just adding a little bit more, just tiny little bit. Okay, now it's wet, it's kind of runny, but then when you're stirring it, it's kind of stay together in one piece, and you can tell that they're pulling, the side of the bowl. I say it's perfect because we also need to make the broth and you don't want the dough to dry out. So what you do is you use the water to seal the dough. Kind of just cover the surface of this dough. And then we'll just let it sit while we make the broth. Now we're gonna cut some tomatoes. We need 4 big, beautiful tomatoes for this. And I have a trick because you need to finely chop these tomatoes, so I have a trick. Don't cut it all the way through, but make sure you have a really sharp knife when you're chopping tomatoes. That's the key. And you just chop this through. Ta-da! Now the final ingredients that we need to do is the tofu. You get the firm tofu because you kind of want to cook it for a while, so you want it to be firm. When it's too soft, it kind of falls apart when you're cooking it and stirring it, right? We get the firm tofu and we cut it into little cubes and then into the little square. In the middle, into here. We're ready to put everything together and make that yummy, hearty, delicious dish. You want to make sure your ingredients are ready because this is a fast sauteing and then broth. Okay, let's turn up the heat. Heat up some oil. You need about a couple tablespoons. First, you put in garlic. And then green onion. You don't want the oil to be too hot because then it burns the garlic quickly. And then you will have this bitter taste in the broth. So it's okay to slowly heat them up. That way the garlic get a chance to slowly release all the fragrance into the oil, hence into the soup. Now you can smell the garlic and the green onions. Oh my gosh. Now it's time to put in the ground pork. This is one of the few dishes that you don't have to marinate your meat before you throw it in, which is awesome because it saves you time. So when you come home, you can just right away put everything in and make this delicious, yummy noodles. Break it apart. Just remember, put in the ground pork first and then put in tofu. Because once you put the ground pork in, you need to kind of spread it and then make sure it's all coming apart. And if you put the tofu in first, you're gonna chop the tofu. Just poking and poking to break it apart. It's time for tomatoes. This is the part that's gonna take a little time because you wanna make sure the tomato is breaking apart and then it's more sauce-like. Tomatoes are breaking apart nicely. Still chunks in there and that's totally fine, that's good. I'm gonna put in the tofu. Lightly stir, lightly, gently. And then now we're gonna put in the chicken stock. Some soy sauce. Some salt to taste. Remember, always taste it before you serve, right? So we're gonna try it. Pretty good. I think we can use a little bit more salt. So while we're waiting for it to boil, I'm gonna clean up a little bit and then we're gonna get ready for the noodle thing, the dough. First, remember we put water in there to seal the surface. Now we're gonna dump the water. We need a little more stir to wake up the dough. As you can see, the texture is getting a lot more smoother. You see those pooling on the side of the bowl? It's a good sign. All right, we're ready. We're gonna scrape it into, use the chopsticks to scrape it into the broth and make it noodles. But this is how you do it. You want to make sure you wet your chopsticks first so it's easier to scrape it down. And then scraping, long shape, and then going around it. When the chopstick gets too sticky and the dough doesn't come down, you just kind of put it in, make it wet again. And make sure they don't stick together. Now we're almost done with all the dough. Don't worry about it if some are big, some are small. That's the nature of homemade. And this is the fun of it, you know? Once we're done, we don't really need to wait for the noodles to cook because this noodle cooks really fast. Once it gets in, it really cooked up very fast. All right, I want to show you the cooked noodle, just like little fish swimming in the pot. Last but not least, we're gonna put in some cilantro. To add color, add flavor, and also because I just love cilantros. Okay, now give it a good stir. And you see, in the end, this clear soup becomes this hearty, creamy soup because of the starch. And it's super yummy. It's ready. It's beautiful, it's healthy, it's hearty. Great dinner for family. Ah, look at this dish. It's beautiful, it's yummy, it's quick and easy, and it's fun to make. Also, kids love it. It's perfect for a cold weather day dinner. Hey you! If you're still watching this video, that means you probably like it a lot. Please like and subscribe, and also share the love. Also, be sure to check out my website at chiachiasqueendom.com.